Hey guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of my OCD video. If you're new here, I'm Allison, and I suggest watching part 1 before coming to part 2. So we were talking about intrusive thoughts where we left off. So this article that I'm reading some information from is by Patrick Carey on the NoCD website. And so it talks about the next step after dealing with a trigger. What was that? Hold on. Where did I put that paper? Okay. So, trigger, intrusive thought, catastrophic assessment. So, he's saying everyone has had some of these intrusive thoughts or similar, you know, they pop in your head, you're like, what the fuck? And, you know, most people might think for a few seconds and then go on with their day. People with OCD, you can't just let it go. So it says someone with OCD will have an intrusive thought, vastly overestimate its importance, and spiral into obsession. So he says many people use intrusive thought and obsession interchangeably, but they're not quite the same. So like everyone else, people with OCD symptoms experience mental illness and get different types of intrusive thoughts. Only some of these become obsessions. So, it says this helps us understand why someone with OCD can be unbothered by most intrusive thoughts, but completely derailed by others. So, there are certain things like that affect me on a whole new level than others. There are some things that affect me more, same scenario one day than the next. A lot of it has to do with all the things leading up to it. My current state of being, kind of like earlier when I said, knowing whether or not you can handle these things. But the different, like as far as like going to Costco, but the difference is that you don't get to ask yourself, can I handle this intrusive thought? Because it's coming and doesn't give a shit what you say. So here it says, let's look at a common example. You're driving along the highway. You have the thought, I should drive off the road and smash in that barrier. Someone without OCD thinks, wow, that was weird. Of course, I don't want to do that. And then they drive along and forget it happened. But someone with OCD might think, oh God, not this again. I'm going to drive off the road. This means I want my life to be over. I don't really want my life to be over. I need to make sure I don't drive off the road, but maybe I do want to drive off the road. And that's what I mean when then you think about it nonstop and you think anything and everything under the sun that has to do with that. And like it says, you then try to overcompensate and be like, I have to be so good at driving right now. Like, and again, these are never thoughts that I ever want to have happen, which is the really messed up part about it. So, I don't know, starting to get a little overwhelmed. Sorry. So basically, the assessment of the situation is what differs between people without OCD and people with OCD. So next you have your, sorry. Why do I keep losing the papers? I am not organized. Sorry, guys. So, obsessions. So here's where okay, so here's like a full scenario that he talks about. So you have your trigger. Your I think I'm missing part of a page. Basically, I'm pretty sure that it said that like you're babysitting, and the trigger is that the kids begin to get undressed for their bath. The intrusive thought is suddenly they think, I could be sexually interested in these kids. The assessment is that every belief and thought you have points something real and important. So the obsessions begin. Oh no, could I really be sexually interested in young kids? Am I the type of person who would be like that? Could I really be a pedophile? Are these kids in danger when I'm around? How can I be sure I'm not like that? I need to make sure I'm really not that kind of person. And so it says, we use the word obsessed in our culture to describe things we're really interested in, which is true. So, and I hate this thought because I have always kind of become obsessed with something until I could have closure on it. Whether it's a horrible story of something that's happened to somebody and they've gone missing, usually somebody around my age, somebody that I feel some kind of connection with in that way, or a fight with somebody. Basically, I keep thinking about it, trying to figure out the issue, trying to know as much as I can. And so then it becomes, okay, you're obsessed with this thing. And it's always like, it's always this, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's like a negative idea, but like that I'm very interested in what this is, and it's a negative to other people. No one ever likes when someone's obsessed, whether or not it's something you're really interested in or not. So like this says, he's obsessed with her. She's obsessed with checking her Instagram. Like, none of those things are seen as good things. So it always has this negative, thing surrounding it, and it's hurtful because maybe I'm just like very triggered by the word obsessed. But I think we all could work on using our vocabulary in better ways. Anyway, sorry. Very distracted as I get further and further through this. I think I'm definitely putting myself further in this right now. So it says, that's not how an obsession works for someone with OCD. They're not interested in their obsession in a typical way. They tend to feel forced to think about it over and over. So an intrusive thought tends to become an obsession because it's the most disturbing thing in their minds that was thrown at them. So it's harder to accept or ignore. Let's see. I would love to talk a bit more about the different types of OCD. Again, from NoCD's website. This article is by Patrick Carey. So there are different types of OCD, obviously. And so I'm thinking this website didn't print everything that well for me, which is annoying. All right, I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. So there are some symptom clusters that is said that people fit into. So contamination obsessions, harm obsessions with checking impulsions, and so fear of harm thoughts, taboo thoughts, and symmetry obsessions. But there are many others. There is so much variety in experiences of people with OCD that there's no real specific list. The reason that lists are created is to make people feel like they fit in somewhere. Like I said, understanding your symptoms, the how, the why, knowing that the thoughts I had were OCD. I knew the checking stuff was. I knew those aspects. I didn't realize that the controlling aspect was, but I'm literally controlling, anxiety, controlling, things in my life because I think that something bad is going to happen. So a lot of worrying about people I love dying if I don't do certain things certain ways. Again, don't deal with that anymore. There are very few things I still struggle with. Obsessively worrying about getting out of a place if there were a fire. So anytime we moved to a new apartment, and anytime that I was up and Sam had fallen asleep, this is where my brain went. I played the scenario over and over and over in my head until I fell asleep. So it's pretty rough being in someone's head with OCD. Luckily, my brain has kind of been able to have some peace. People were like, you should try meditation. I could never shut my brain off. I was then thinking about something, obsessing about my breathing, obsessing about something happening, and then so I was never actually just in it. But I'm working on being mindful and trying to be just very aware of myself. Let's just kind of go over some of these types of OCDs with some obsessions and compulsions examples, and then I will go on to read some of the people's experiences that they shared with me. So you have harm OCD. So, what if I killed my nephew and I just can't remember? I could stab my husband with this knife. What if I drove into that person? So your compulsions, keeping knives hidden, repeatedly going back to check if you ran over somebody, calling your sibling to check if your nephew's safe and sound. You feel a sense of relief when you fit into a category. Like I said, anyone does. When you understand, finding out that I was a highly sensitive person, an empath, that I was like, oh my God, so this is why I feel like I'm going to explode in a situation where there's a trigger and something is just enough making me feel so tense. So I hope that reading these things helps you understand more about somebody in your life, more about yourself, or just keeps you open to the fact that there's a lot going on inside people's heads, and it's just challenging. I'm still working on it myself to be more understanding and kind to others. It can be very hard, but just try and keep it in mind. So the next one is sexual orientation OCD, or homosexual OCD, or HOCD. Obsession about your sexuality. I was attracted to that guy back there. That means I'm gay. Was I really into her when we dated, or am I more into guys? So compulsions could be avoiding people of the same sex altogether to avoid confusion, looking at pictures of women to see if you're attracted to them. There's pedophilia OCD. Obsessions are, I just had a sexual thought when I was around my cousin's kid. Am I attracted to them? What if I was molested as a kid and I just can't remember? Some compulsions will be repeatedly beating yourself up in your head for these thoughts. Looking online for stories of real pedophiles so that you can find evidence that you're not one. Relationship OCD. So, totally destroying your relationship by, constantly questioning it. Are we meant for one another? What if we're not, but we still end up stuck together? Is this the right person for me? So like taking relationship quizzes online, looking at people on social media to see if their relationships are better, things like that. Just right OCD. So this one is a little different. And it's difficult to identify a specific set of fears. It's more like a strong feeling that something's not right when things aren't a certain way. So, obsession, something's just not right with this. I need to start this over and make it perfect. So performing any action over and over, like closing doors, like I said, with the light switch, the way that it needs to happen. Rearranging, reordering, and organizing things repeatedly. Changing wording many times in emails or notes. Contamination OCD. The most stereotyped form of OCD. So these people are afraid of getting sick, infecting someone they care about. I don't think mine's necessarily contamination because I don't fear that so much as I just feel dirty. So, oh no, this time I've really gotten AIDS. This whole place is full of bad bacteria, I can just tell. I think we're all gonna struggle a little bit feeling like things are full of bacteria post-COVID. So, that one's a little hard because I think that people who don't normally feel that way with OCD are going to be definitely having this be a trigger for them. So compulsions, repeatedly washing hands and sanitizing things, avoiding being in public and stuff like that. Then there's pure obsessional OCD. So I've read a lot about this. Apparently some experts say it doesn't exist. I read about this years ago. But basically these people are thought to have obsessions without any visible compulsions. So they do still have compulsions. They're not purely obsessional, but I guess this is the best that fits them. So obsessions can be about sex, sexuality, religion, harm, personal health, romance, really anything else that was discussed. Obsessions, what if I'm not a good person? If I don't clean up my mess well enough, someone will get will slip and get seriously hurt. How do I know that life is even worth it? So making sure to spend time only with people who will tell you you're a good person. Trying repeatedly to remember a situation because you haven't done it correctly if you've missed a detail. Always thinking through the meaning of life question. So nothing physical, but a lot of obsession or compulsions in your head. And in, I guess, in your movements and actions, not like in physical doings. Does that make sense? What are words? So there are definitely other subtypes, but these, I guess, are the most common ones. And they are ones that I have read most about. So I'm going to read through the questions that I asked people for myself first, and then I'm going to go through theirs. So, how old are you now, and how old were you when you were diagnosed? I am 34, and I was diagnosed in my 20s. I couldn't even tell you when, but I would say probably my mid-20s. Sounds about right. Are you in therapy or are you medicated? Both. I am currently taking a Effexor, and I'm also taking Abilify. What are your worst obsessions or compulsions? Obsessions, for sure. The obsessions are worse, for sure, and they, I would say, I couldn't even put it down right now. Obsessions are worse about maybe everyday life. Nothing that I can pinpoint specifically. My compulsions are very minimal right now. At least physically. Mentally, definitely more. Not good at answering this questionnaire for myself. Are you diagnosed with any other mental health disorders? If so, what? Do you find that they play a part in your OCD? Yes. I suffer from anxiety and also depression. My depression has been what I would say mild most of my life that I've had it. I don't know how long, because another misconception is depression. My depression was always complete lack of motivation, no desire to do anything, wanting to do things that I love, but just not having the motivation to do them. 2 summers ago, my depression was the worst it's ever been. And since being on the Abilify, I realized that I have had some mild form of depression for a very long time. So they both play a huge role in my OCD. Like I said, anytime stressors occur, OCD is triggered. How has OCD affected your life, family, and friends? In so many ways I can't even explain, but I'm so grateful for my husband's support and kindness and understanding as, you know, I've gone through this and tried understanding it myself. It has been challenging, for sure. Hard on our marriage. I mean, any mental health disorder is hard on a marriage, on relationships. And, you know, it's hard to say which thing affected other parts of my life, but, you know, needing to control things, being late going places, having to check things before I leave, going back home, so being late for my job a lot, and then obsessively sharing how it all went down and how I felt, and just, man, I apologize to all of my previous coworkers and managers. Anything else I want to share? I think that doing this video while feeling insanely vulnerable doing it, I think that it is something that more people should do. I would love to hear more people's experiences with their own mental health disorders, be that, depression, bipolar disorder, whatever. We're trying to break down the stigma, but it's still there. People are okay with the easy parts to swallow, and a lot of the things in this video are not. So yeah, I'd like for this to be a more common thing. I'm going to stop this here, and my last and third video will be from the 5 people that I had fill out this questionnaire for me so that they could give their experiences, which are very different, and I think that it's very eye-opening. So please, if you are still interested, stick around and watch the next video. Thanks so much.